Is Derek Carr the worst quarterback situation in the NFC South? We are here with Off the Bench Overtime. We're going to be talking about the Falcons, the Bucks. Is Derek Carr the worst quarterback situation in the NFC South? We are here with Off the Bench Overtime. We're going to be talking about the Falcons, the Bucks, the Saints, the Panthers, quarterback situations. I'm assuming they're going to rank them and talk about who's the worst. I don't think Carr is anywhere near the worst. I mean, you're talking about, off the top of my head, Bryce Young is awful. I mean, look, I know he's still young, whatever. I know people think he can't be good. I'm here to tell you, spoiler alert, he ain't going to be good. Okay, Bryce Young's not going to be good. Bryce Young is terrible. The Falcons don't even have a quarterback right now. It could be Kirk Cousins. Ladies and gentlemen, James Skrmetta here from the future. So, whoopsie poopsie, when I filmed this video, Baker Mayfield had not signed his deal. Kirk Cousins had not signed with the Falcons. So I'm doing quite the guessing game in here with the NFC South quarterbacks. But now Baker Mayfield has made $100 million and Kirk Cousins has made $180 million. Fun factoid that now pushes Kirk Cousins' career earnings over $400 million. How insane is that? Kirk Cousins has almost made $500 million, being somewhere between the 8th and 12th best quarterback in the NFL for his entire career. So very impressive for Kirk. I'm still going to let the video play because a lot of it, we do talk about Baker. We do talk about Kirk with the Falcons. The rankings are still there, still golden tidbits, still brilliant analysis. Enjoy the rest of the video. If it is Kirk Cousins, that's a huge boom. But if it's not Kirk Cousins, you know, then we're talking about what, Desmond Ridder, Taylor Heineke, whoever they draft. Then the Bucks, I believe they just franchise tagged Antoine Winfield, which means they cannot franchise tag Baker Mayfield. So Baker Mayfield may walk. So who's the Bucks quarterback? So to sit here and say Derek Carr would be the worst situation, I think is crazy.
The Atlanta Falcons' next quarterback. What I was going to say is obviously that should be of a lot of interest to New Orleans Saints fans. Yeah, right?
For sure.
Not only is that your arch rival, but in a world where, once again, you don't know what the Bucks are going to do at quarterback, and it's unclear what the Falcons can do. Like, you seem reasonably well positioned in the NFC South, so. Even though we played this game all of offseason. What I don't love is the latest rumors are that Kirk Cousins to Atlanta is starting to gain a lot of steam. Diana Rossini from The Athletic was...
Yeah, I mean, this to me, from what I'm hearing, this sounds like I'm not going to say it's almost a done deal, but it sounds like it's pretty close. It sounds like Kirk Cousins to Atlanta absolutely could be a thing. That is a big deal for Saints fans, because if Kirk Cousins goes to Atlanta is one of those teams where they have so many weapons. Now they have new coaches all over the place. They could be really, really good next year. Like they have it all kind of bubbling. The perfect storm is kind of there. Now, of course, those players have to develop. You know, Kyle Pitts is a great example where Kirk Cousins getting there, all of a sudden people are going to say, this is Kyle Pitts' moment, right? He was drafted high. We know the potential he had. He never had the chance to show it. You give him Kirk Cousins, but there is a chance that Kyle Pitts just isn't that good, right? Same with Drake London. Drake London had all the potential, drafted high, never really had the chance. He was good at times, sure. And with Kirk Cousins, people may expect him to become an elite level wide receiver. I'm right. Look, I understand. I get it. You know, I totally agree that getting Kirk Cousins, my first thought would be Atlanta is a true threat to win the NFC with Kirk Cousins. They are a true threat to win, 10, 11, 12 games, win the division, go to the playoffs. They're really talented. I like Raheem Morris as a coach. I like Zach Robinson. Obviously, I was saying the Saints should get him as their OC. So Cousins to Atlanta would be really dangerous for the Saints.
Reporting on this, and I think it's actually especially relevant to our show as well, as we've had a lot of Carr, Cousins style debates here, and it's very deeply funny to me if this move comes to pass. The Saints-Falcons rivalry is incredible from a passion standpoint, right? It's got all the hallmarks. Yeah. Fans absolutely hate each other on a college level, if not even deeper. You have geographically it works, right? Both in the Southeast, for a lot of times, kind of like the Southeast's representatives in the NFL. It's been played forever. It's a series that isn't it basically exactly 500?
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Right. So it's
like
an awesome
LSU
rivalry.
Florida series, same thing.
Except both teams are usually dog crap. Like they're usually awful. Like for their entire history, it's been the
When are we going to end that? I mean, look, let's just, you know how like you see something on Instagram or Twitter where it's like Power Rangers came out 32 years ago. And you're like, oh my God, like where did the time go? You'll see, you feel like your childhood is not that far away. And then you see something like Lion King debuted 40 years ago today. It's like, man, what? When I think 40 years ago, I'm thinking about Gone with the Wind. I'm thinking about, movies like that, A Sound of Music. I'm not thinking about Lion King. I feel like we're at the same point now with this whole Saints Falcons like being bad. But like, think about how good those two franchises were for so long. I mean, even in Atlanta, Atlanta with Matt Ryan, that whole time with Ryan was really good. The Michael Vick years, they were really good. Like Atlanta, very similar to the Saints. The Saints obviously got their Super Bowl. Atlanta did not. Atlanta got, everyone knows the 28-3 situation, but I think we can retire this notion that Atlanta and New Orleans are two teams that are known for just being garbage. Yeah, maybe in the 60s. Yeah, maybe in the 70s, the Saints were that whole era. But again, when I tell you 20 years ago, 30 years ago, we're slowly getting to the point to where 20 years ago, the Saints were pretty damn good. We're almost there. I mean, 2005. So we're 2 years away. We're 2 years away from being able to say for the last 20 years, the Saints have been pretty solid. At times we're elite, and then other times they were just kind of, middling around 500. 20 years, 2 decades. The Saints have not been garbage or bad or dog poo or whatever in 2 decades, pretty much. Then you look at the Falcons. I don't know the deep dive. I don't know the exact number of years on the Falcons, but I would assume most of Matt Ryan's career, Falcons are pretty strong. Again, the Michael Vick years, Falcons are pretty strong. When Randy Moss and Chris Carter or whoever was dominating in Minnesota, and they were the best team in the NFL, who beat them? Atlanta. And Atlanta went to the Super Bowl, I believe, right? Within the NFC title game, someone double check me there. But Atlanta has one of those histories too where they've got some really good years there. So, I'm so over hearing about how the Saints and the Falcons, or the Saints are just like these are just richly bad franchises. It's just not the case anymore. It's just anytime you're good, or for the better part of 2 decades you're good or you're relevant, I think you can go ahead and put to bed. If next year, if the Cleveland Browns won 12 games, and then for the next 19 years, they were in Super Bowls, conference championships, their worst years, they were 500. At the end of that 20 years, could you imagine someone being like, the Browns, they're just known for being bad. It's like, hey, brother, where you been? We've been really good for 2 decades. What's going on here?
Best rivalry that no one cared about because it's normally, for long decades, it's like 2 4-8 teams doing battle, trying to go 5-9. And now, in that storied rivalry, we may get a Derek Carr versus Kirk O'Chains chapter. Let's freaking go, dude. Carr versus Kirk. 2 quarterbacks that have always been like pretty damn good, but kind of not good at the same time. Schrodinger's quarterbacks, if you will. And now, Jake, your boy, Kirko, with a chance to prove once and for all just how much better the Derek Carr is.
Are you going to?
I think they're very similar. So people have asked me this too. People in the comments have said, do you think Derek Carr is better than Kirk Cousins? I think they're incredibly similar. They are, I don't want to say stat patters, but they're guys who end up with good stats. They're guys who end up around that top 10 or higher statistical ranking. They're right there. They can't win. They just seemingly cannot get over the hump to win playoff games or to, advance their team. They come up short in big moments. And I don't really, I go back and forth on this. Like, I don't know how much I believe that someone can just be, I don't want to say a loser, but that someone just can't win or someone can't get over the hump, because you can only say that until they do. Then it's like, okay, well, now what? If the whole time you're hanging your hat that he couldn't get over the hump, once he gets over the hump, does that turn him into the greatest quarterback ever, or is there something else? So I think they're both good. I think Cousins, I would say, is probably slightly better, but not anything crazy. Like if we're doing a Madden ranking, I would say Cousins is probably like an 80, like an 85, and Carr is probably like an 83. So they're close, but I would prefer Cousins over Carr.
Are you going to ask me which one I think is going to prevail?
No, I think Cousins is clearly the better quarterback.
Yeah.
I think that's fair to say. But Cousins is the NFL Mendoza line, right? Where if you're better than Kirk Cousins, your fan base is probably happy with you. If you're worse than Kirk Cousins, your fan base probably wants you replaced. If you are Kirk Cousins,
I disagree with that because I do.
Fan base goes both ways.
But
I think our Cousins. I've said this before with NFL quarterbacks. The way I think you can look at quarterbacks is you have like your super elite level guys. Those are guys who are going to take your franchise and they're going to push them up. No matter who's around them, no matter the situation, if that guy is on your team, you have a chance. Those are the Patrick Mahomes, the Josh Allen, the Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, like people like that, where they're on the team. Okay, cool. We're going to be good. Like we'll figure out the rest. Like the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes is on the team. No one is going to sit here and say, I wonder if the Chiefs are going to win 10 games. Josh Allen with the Bills, same thing where he's there. You know they're going to be good. You know they're going to be viable, right? Then you have like your really, really good quarterbacks who can win a Super Bowl. They're definitely a positive. They're definitely pushing the team up. They're not as automatic as the Patrick Mahomes of the world. That's like your Joe Burrows and players like that. Then you have your nice like stabilizing quarterbacks who, if they have a good roster around them, if they have a good situation, they can do enough to where you can win. They're not going to drag you down. They're not a net negative. They're not going to push you, but they're not going to drag you under either. They're just a nice, even keel, good quarterback. That's Kirk Cousins. And then a little bit under that, that's Derek Carr. So that's how I look at them in that category. And then under that, obviously, is like quarterbacks who are negatively impacting your team, they're detrimental to your long-term success. And the further you get in that list, the more like you have to, turn over the quarterback, draft somebody, trade for somebody, sign somebody, or whatever. So I think Carr and Cousins are both in that category where it's like give them assets, put a system around them, let them be efficient in that system, and they can figure it out.
If he comes into the division, he's the best quarterback in the division.
Yeah, agreed.
Like even if Baker's there, it would go Kirk Cousins, Baker. You better hope Bryce Young doesn't develop Derek Carr.
I think that's crazy. I think that's crazy. I think it's crazy to say. I mean, Bryce Young. If Bryce Young develops, if Bryce Young takes a step forward, he's like a bottom 3 quarterback. He has to take a step just to be a viable starter in the NFL. Baker is another guy. Does anyone have more short-term memory than people when it comes to Baker Mayfield? Like how many people before last season were saying Baker Mayfield is a pretty good quarterback? I'll tell you how many. Me. I was saying it. I was saying, I like Baker. I think he gets a bad rap. I think Baker can play. I think the Bucs could be good. I have a video on the channel. If you don't believe me, I said the Bucs will not be as bad as people think. The entire NFL Live crew were saying that the Bucs were going to be the worst team in the NFL and that the Bucs could possibly be in for the 1 seed or for the first overall pick. And I was sitting here saying, guys, come on. I mean, the roster's not that bad. Baker's not that bad. Now Baker has a decent season. Buccaneers have a good year. And now everyone's saying, oh, no, Baker's a solid quarterback. Yeah, how many people were saying that when the Panthers told him to get lost? How many people were saying that when the Rams told him to get lost? Okay, so I don't buy all the Baker Mayfield, like, consistency hype and all that stuff. I think Baker's good, but I would have Baker under Carr and Cousins. So I would have Baker. I think it's easy. I mean, if that's your 4 quarterbacks, it's easily Cousins, Carr, Mayfield, gap, backup quarterback, me, a guy down the street, the guy who sleeps out on the park bench at night, and then Bryce Young.
We were talking about that before the show. I was like, T-Bob, last year the division was supposed to be bad, and we're like, well, we'll give it to the Saints because they got the best quarterback in the division. We're like, now you're 3 at best.
Y'all said that.
Well, I mean, look, dude, you didn't think the
at
Saints.
best.
You agreed that the Saints were going to likely win the division.
I thought they'd win the division. But
Yeah,
y'all know my stance
but you
on
weren't
the
out here saying
quarterback
that Baker
position.
was better than Derek.
Oh, probably not. No.
No, yeah.
There you go. Exactly. I just proved my point. He's looking at it. He's looking befuddled. He said, no, I definitely would not have said Baker Mayfield was better than Carr last year. Fast forward 10 months, and all of a sudden Baker is an elite quarterback. I don't get it.
But I thought Bryce Young would be much better.
And he's garbage,
Well,
too.
that, I mean, I don't know
Complete
what
trash.
I don't even know if you can accurately judge the Panthers. I think they have a leadership problem that trickles down from the CEO.
No, they have a
Well, at least
roster.
Tepper's,
The roster is trash.
at least he's
No,
patient.
he's cool, calm, and collected in
Yeah.
tense moments.
Exactly.
What are you talking about?
He's in no way reactive or brash.
He's
or
that coach.
Impulsive.
And T-Bob, you and I, we've played long enough that we've all had this coach, and it could be in multiple sports. Like, they always get in front of the team. You going on the road, hostile environment. Hey, keep your composure. I don't want to see any of y'all. Get outside of yourself. Don't allow the
And then
crowd
they
to
get
affect
outside
you.
of
And then,
themselves.
like 5 seconds later, the coach is the one
Yeah.
that's affected by the crowd. the
Tale's
most.
old as time.
We had a baseball
A tale's
coach in
old
high
as
school.
time,
We were
ladies
going
and
to play Barb, right? And Barb had a great, in left field, I think. Like, if you were the left fielder, which I was, like, you were going to get harassed.
Yeah.
And so, like, he made, like, I remember, because he knew I was a little bit of a hothead. He's like, hey, you can't allow him to affect you. You can't talk trash, blah, blah, blah. I mean, in, like, in the third inning, I look over. He's coaching third base. He's, like, basically in the stands yelling at people. I'm like, hold up. You sat me down for 30 minutes, and you're, like, in the, like, climbing the fence to get to somebody on the third baseline.
It's like having a fat strength coach. It's like, come on, bro. You're making it real hard for me to buy
Yeah, it's making
into
it
your
real hard to do
message
this
when you
cardio.
are clearly not holding yourself to the same standard that
Yes.
you're out here trying to hold me to.
I agree.
Anyway, if Baker Mayfield resigns, which I kind of want to talk about next episode because that's a big if. Like, would you want to pay Baker $40 million? That's an
No,
awkward spot to
absolutely
be.
not.
But if
No.
Baker resigns and if Kirk goes to Atlanta, is Derek Carr now the third quarterback in the NFC South?
No,
What
he's
did we
second.
say? This was like right at the end of last season, the regular season. Like, I threw out a number and y'all thought it was way too low. I said I think 2 years, like $65 million for Baker would be somewhere, not long term, but you got to give him some money. You got to give him a big chunk.
Yeah.
And I think you said you thought more like 3 for 90. So like maybe less money per year, but a longer.
I mean, if I was a fan,
I think it's way better. If I was the Bucks, what I would do is I would give Baker like 1 year. I don't know, like 1 year, $15 million. I'd give him a 1 year contract. I'd give him a fat contract that my salary cap could work with, but I would be 1 year. I don't think Baker is that good, and he's certainly. I do think he's good. I think he's viable. I think he's a viable starter. I would say he's below Carr and Cousins, but he's not in like the net negative group. I'd have to think about who I'd put him in there with. But Baker is fine. Baker is one of those guys where there's a ceiling. He's not going to. And Baker's also a guy who he's probably done progressing. He's probably done developing and progressing and getting better. So the Baker you saw last year, that's what you're paying for. That's the quarterback that you're giving money to. Now, the Baker we saw last year absolutely is a viable starter. Obviously can win you the division, obviously can get you to the playoffs, obviously can win you a playoff game, and that's probably about it. Is that worth 2 years, $50 million? Is that worth 1 year, $18 million? I would say somewhere around there. Somewhere in that universe, yes. 2 years, $60 million, or 3 years, $90 million. That's when it gets a little much.
I'm with you. I'd rather do shorter, give him a big chunk.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
that's
that's what I
fine.
just
I
said.
don't want to be long-term committed.
That's what I said,
just-
T-Bob.
It's an awkward spot to be. If you
Well,
were a
the
Bucs
song's
fan.
about his girl having somebody else in the bed.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'll let Taylor decide.
I mean,
what
the Saints are
scenario
the
is.
Saints are kind of the only ones that didn't commit a relationship. I guess
What the hell just happened? I have goosebumps. I think I just slipped into some kind of parallel dimension, ethereal nightmare. What just took place? Did I have a seizure or something on camera? Did I have a stroke on camera? And wow, let's take a look, ladies and gentlemen, back at this jump cut.
committed. It's an awkward spot to be. If you were
Well,
a
the
Bucs
song's
fan.
about his girl having somebody else in the bed.
Yeah.
So
Whose
I don't
girl?
know. I'll let Taylor decide.
I mean,
what to
Who's
say
in the
here.
bed? Who's in the bed? Whose girl? Who's Taylor? Did Taylor pull a Shawshank Redemption, walk in, see his lady in the bed with another fella? What's going on here? I got a lot of questions, okay? Got a lot of questions. I got a lot of concerns.
The Saints are kind of the only ones that didn't commit a relationship. I guess the Panthers
Oh,
are
the
as well,
Panthers
just
are
toxic.
The Panthers are in the most committed relationship, my guy. The Panthers traded away a ton of assets to go get Bryce Young, and now they have to figure out how they can make him good while David Tepper is firing coach after coach after coach.
They're in one.
Just toxic. But Taylor, what do you think? As the resident Bucs fan of the show, it's an awkward spot to be because it's funny watching the reaction of Bucs fans, right? They love Baker. Last year was awesome. So much fun. NFC South champs. Ha ha. Screw you, Saints. And then it's like, okay, you ready to pay Baker $40 million a year? And they're like, hell no. No. Would you pay him?
No.
I think you have to if you're the Bucs.
See, I think that's bad. I think the idea that you have to do anything is dangerous.
Here's an example, okay? Let's say the Browns. Let's say the Browns go with Deshaun Watson. And if you're the Bucs, you could say, we can pay Baker Mayfield $40 million a year, or we can pick up Joe Flacco. You'd pick up Joe Flacco, right? The point is, those viable starters, the viable short-term lightning in a bottle type starter, they're meant to be just kind of rolled over and just kind of swapped in, swapped out. That's why I always say is that instead of investing a ton of money in someone like Daniel Jones, just cut bait with him because he's not good. Go get a Nick Foles when Foles was good. Foles isn't there anymore. But go get a Foles, go get a Joe Flacco, go get a Ryan Fitzpatrick back in the day when Fitzpatrick was good. Go get a Taylor Heineke, go get a Baker Mayfield. There's plenty of quarterbacks out there who can be good for 10 games. We've seen Colt McCoy do this. Colt McCoy has been a version of Baker Mayfield for 10 games. So that's what teams like Tampa should do. They should say, okay, Baker, thank you very much for your 1 year. That was fantastic. And then they should move on and go get Jacoby Brissett or whoever the next viable starter is. Let that person come in, do the same thing. 1 year, try and catch a little magic, move some roster money around, build the roster, and then when you're truly ready to win, you either draft your quarterback, trade for a quarterback, sign a better quarterback. That is the plan. That's how you do it. How you don't do it is you find a quarterback like Baker Mayfield who has an obvious ceiling, who has taken you to that ceiling. Your head is smashing the popcorn or whatever on top of the ceiling. It's smashing that, and then you say, let's lock that in for a couple of years. Why would you do that? Why would you lock in that ceiling? That's not how teams should approach quarterbacks, should approach contracts. And just like this young man behind the glass said, he said, we kind of have to because of what he did last year. No, brother, that's the reason you shouldn't have to. You already got all, it's the classic paying, I'm forgetting the classic, ladies and gentlemen. What's the thing with the cow? It's like, why pay for, I'm going to completely screw this up. Somebody go in the comments below. It's like, why would you pay for the cow when you can pay for the milk? Is that it? It might be backwards. Why would you pay for the milk when you pay for the cow? One of the two. But that's how it is like with Baker, is like you've already gotten the goods. You've already gotten what you wanted. You already extracted all of the value out of him. The whole point of him being there is to get that value. The whole point of Baker being on the team is that you wanted just a easy does it, nice and chill, cheap, short-term quarterback. Cool, that worked perfectly. Don't turn that into a long-term quarterback. Go get another cheap, viable, short-term quarterback. Keep rolling it over.
So just, I get it. The Falcons will be better if they sign Kirk Cousins, but you don't want to blow up what you had. You brought back Evans, and the word was that Baker and Evans wanted to play together. The number I've seen thrown around is $25 to $30 million a year.
That's completely acceptable.
Which would be a lot better.
That'd be great.
But at the same
25 is probably right. I got to look up this cow thing. All right, here it is. Why buy the cow when you can get the milk for free? Do not expect somebody to make a costly commitment if it will give them nothing they do not already have. Used especially as a warning against having sex. Anyways, the point of the proverb is exactly what I'm saying, is that why you've already gotten the value. You've already gotten it out of there. But anyways, that at least now we know the cow mystery. At least now we know the proverb, what I was trying to recollect.
Same time, it's
That's
like
a discount.
Do you really want to go find? Because I mean, you were a couple plays away from possibly upsetting Detroit in the playoffs. You do that, anything could happen. I mean, do you really want to blow that all up? Because NFC South, it's still up for grabs. And you can say, well, you got a new offensive coordinator. How's he going to react to that? When Baker had all that success in L.A., remember they picked him up, he went in there and he played well. Liam Cohen was the offensive coordinator.
This young fellow is explaining it horribly. So everything he's saying that is not the reason to blow it up is the reason to. Because if the NFC South is still weak, if the NFC South is still up for grabs, even more reason not to pay Baker. Even more reason to roll the dice on someone else like Joe Flacco or whoever, someone of that kind of tier. You go get them, see if they can replicate what Baker did against a weak division while you are managing the cap, drafting players, building your roster and all of that. So Baker, I mean, yeah, if you want to walk into a bad division title, maybe try and upset a team in the first round and then maybe try and upset a team in the second round. If that's your long-term goal, if that's what you want to invest in, yeah, pay Baker 3 years, $90 million.
That's true.
Who is now the offensive coordinator with the Bucs. So you have a guy that's familiar with your quarterback, that's had success with him. You got your number one receiver back who had good chemistry with your quarterback. Like, I never want to overpay for anybody, but like, do they have a better option than that right now?
Bro, can Baker ever just like
get an offensive coordinator?
I was going to say,
2 years?
can he get the same coach 2 years in a row? Our guy has been just, nobody has experienced more turnover in his NFL career and yet done like pretty damn good than Baker Mayfield
Baker's
has.
been a real baller.
He had
really
Stefanski for 2 years, but it was a different offensive coordinator each year. He's never had the same offensive coordinator 2 years in a row.
Wow.
But that's what I'm saying. You get a guy that he's already worked with in a different spot. Like, I don't know if you have a better option.
If it's 25 to 30, hell yeah. If it's 40, you say go test the market. And if somebody wants to pay you 40, Godspeed.
Yeah, I don't think Baker's got
look for options.
I'd be surprised if Baker had like a true market value.
You look at the quarterback draft, and it's so heavy with so many players that people think can be starting quarterbacks in the NFL. This isn't a year where you're going to have like a Kenny Pickett be the only quarterback in the first round. So if you're the Bucs, you have that as leverage.
Yeah, I mean, the Bucs could. I mean, if the Bucs really wanted to, they could say we're going to get rid of. I mean, perfect example, but I'm just going to completely make this up. This is not founded in any rumors at all. But if the Bucs said, well, we could pay Baker $40 million a year, or we could draft Michael Penix in the second round or third round or wherever they think he's going to go, and we'll just let him start. Or we'll draft Michael Pratt, or we'll draft Bo Nix, or we'll draft Spencer Rattler, and we'll see what we can do. Like, there's tons of people in the draft who are probably worth the risk over paying Baker almost $100 million.
Yeah, for sure. There's some young options out there.
And what that also does is weakens the market value because other teams are thinking the same thing. Other teams who are quarterback starved are thinking, well, we'll just draft a quarterback. Like Denver just cut Russell Wilson. They're obviously thinking we're going to draft a quarterback. We're going to get our guy. So Denver wouldn't be in the market to go sign Baker Mayfield. The Raiders are going to draft their guy. They're not in the market to go get Baker Mayfield. So because of the depth of the quarterbacks in the draft, I don't think there certainly wouldn't be a market to where they're paying him $40 million a year if Baker Mayfield tested free agency, which it looks like he's going to with the Antoine Winfield news.
You could go explore. And honestly, though, I mean, just because you signed Baker wouldn't preclude you from taking a shot on a young quarterback. It might actually be the ideal time to do it.
God. I mean, guys, could you imagine? I guess it depends on the length of the contract, but imagine being like trying to do, but it's the ultimate, like, have your cake and eat it too. where it's like, yeah, let's sign Baker to a 3-year, $90 million contract. Oh, and let's also draft Michael Penix. It's like, well, you should have just done the second thing. You didn't have, if you were going to do the second thing, you didn't have to do the first thing. And then if you sign Baker, you're signing him so that you don't have to do the second thing because you're trying to win. Because you're signing him because you think that you have something there, something to win with. So if you're going to sign him, don't draft a quarterback. If you're going to sign him, build the roster, get more talent around you because you have a short-term window to win. Nuts.
As he could sit there, kind of learn at his feet for a year or two, and then eventually you have your kind of takeover. Like Baker's kind of the perfect stopgap sort of guy for a situation like that. But either way, Kirk Cousins maybe to Atlanta. We'll monitor the situation. Derek Carr, is he the third best quarterback in the NFC South if that happens? Probably. But my dumb brain, I'm kind of starting to get excited again, dude. Those last 6 games are pretty solid.
I'm excited.
Kubiak coming over from San
Love
Fran.
it. I can't wait.
With AK. Meetings went well. So we'll see. We'll see where it all goes.
You think we would have heard if they would have gone bad?
No. Wow. Just
my final ranking, Kirk Cousins 1, Derek Carr 2, Baker Mayfield 3, Bryce Young, wherever you want to put him. 4 is the best I can do for Bryce Young on that list there. But yeah, I mean, I just think it's crazy. I understand that people might not be happy with Derek Carr, but to say that he's 3rd or 4th best in the division is absolutely insane. Go down in the comments below. Let me know what you think. Big fan of that members only